Hello everyone, my name is Eddie Smith here with Midwestern Marx doing our first in-person interview since the quarantine started. We've got Matt Connolly here. I've had a lot of people on the old TikTok asking me when I'm going to run for office, and I'm not, but Matt is, and I'm going to help him out with that, and we're really excited. So we thought we'd launch his campaign here with an interview. So first off, Matt, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then what are you running for here?
Yeah, so my name is Matt Connolly, like Eddie said. Right now I'm 20 years old. I am from Dubuque, lived in Dubuque my whole life. I'm going to Loras College right now. And right now I'm really interested in running for state office. So right now I'm thinking of either primarying Chuck Eisenhart in 2022, or if Lindsey James, who's my current representative, if she leaves her position, then I will. And, to run for a higher office, then I'll probably seek to replace her.
Awesome. So you're running as a Democrat probably, so given that you'll probably have to primary another Democrat, what makes you different from the Democratic Party, and why are you better than the rest of the Democratic Party?
Yeah, so I think this is a three-part answer. So one, I see myself as anti-establishment, and I think that's very popular right now. So if we see, Trump's popularity, he's very anti-establishment. He's very, these guys are screwing you over. They're not on your side. And so I kind of view myself in that same way. Whereas a lot of, traditional Democrats are very centrist. They are, they only work for the higher powers, the people that fund their campaigns, basically. And so to kind of go along with that, I'm also very anti-corruption. So I believe that you can't change the system by taking its money. And so, these corporate Dems who take this money from special interests, they're only going to work in the interests of these special interests. Whereas I would seek to work for the workers and, the general people. And then finally, I think what makes me different from a traditional Democrat is Democrats like to focus on identity politics. So a big thing that we're seeing right now is the Black Lives Matter movement. And instead of doing anything that would actually help black people, traditional Democrats will actually just cave on the symbols to appear woke and appear like they're doing something. So the renaming of, I think, Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C., they called it Black Lives Matter Avenue. They caved on the symbols, but they're not actually going to do anything to help black people materially. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's also a big thing that turns people off from the left, is this identity politics thing. I know a lot of people who would otherwise generally agree with our philosophy and form of economics, who are so turned off by blue-haired people on college campuses that they can't possibly be in the same party. And so while I do think that identity politics are important, and I do think that there should be a lot of emphasis on that, I think it is almost a secondary issue that we can kind of fix through our economic policy proposals.
Yeah, cool, that's awesome. So you're more focused on the substance, so then let's talk about the substance. What would your main policy proposals be as a representative?
Yeah, so my main policy proposal right now is actually Medicare for All. I think it is the most common sense proposal out there right now that would help the most people right away. I also think that because we're the richest nation on earth, it just kind of makes sense that we shouldn't be the only developed country to not have universal health care in some form. And so that is definitely my biggest policy right now. Another big policy that I have as a college student is free college and the elimination of student debt. I think that's a very important, at least the funding of public colleges, because they do that in other developed countries as well. We can't afford to do it. The latest increase in the military budget was twice the amount, 120 billion, twice the amount that it would cost to fund public colleges across the nation, which would be $60 billion. It's just our priorities are not there. That's the only reason we don't have free college right now. The other thing is, the reason I support the elimination of student debt is because it holds younger generations back. So college has gone up 3 times in cost as it was in the 1980s and 1990s. And that's adjusting for inflation too, so it's way more expensive right now to go to college than our parents' generation, and that's actually reflected in the amount of wealth that each generation holds. So Gen Xers hold a lot more, or when they were 25 to 30, they held a lot more wealth within the country than millennials do right now. And I actually saw a study that said that 50% of millennials are living with their parents right now because they can't afford to even rent or buy or move into a new home because, well, and that's during the coronavirus too, but all of these things are holding our generation and the generation above us back because we have crippling debt. And same thing with medical debt. That's why I support Medicare for all too. But you know, we're just being held down by this debt, and it's such a weight, and you can never escape it. You know, there's, I think 3 out of every 10 boomers still have student debts to pay off. It's crazy. You know, why would you have something that would hold you back for just trying to get a higher education? You can go to K through 12 schools, not have to go in debt for anything, but as soon as you want a higher education to better your, or get more knowledge or whatever, you get held back. So the final thing is, I also want to make technical colleges free as well, because I know not everybody wants to go to college. Actually, 2/3 of people don't go to college. But to give people the tools and the options to go into a field that they want to go in while making it free and while making it you know, short-term, more affordable, I think is also the way to go.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned medical debt, and we just covered a story, right? The healthcare billionaires, which, first of all, why do healthcare billionaires even exist? But during the pandemic, healthcare billionaires have added $150 billion to their wealth through selling medical supplies. And so it seems like common sense, you know, like why are we not redistributing these funds that our system is creating towards, you know, healthcare for us or education, or why are we not reallocating pieces of the military budget, the $700 billion military budget into our country? And it seems like common sense, but in America, where we've had 80 years of Red Scare propaganda, you know, what you're gonna hear is, oh, this is socialism. We can't have socialism here in the US. So what is your plan to pitch what are essentially socialist or social democratic ideas moving us to the economic left in middle America, in the middle of Iowa?
Yeah, well, I think that socialism is as American as apple pie. You know, you look to the founding of our country, authors like Thomas Paine, he was very much of the mind of like a collective mindset that we all work together, and that's actually very natural. Obviously, like you look to different animal groups like monkeys, they obviously work in tandem with each other. Obviously, we're more evolved than that, but it's actually natural to work towards a common goal with your fellow man. So, and then we also have Abe Lincoln, who was on top of the political consequences of abolishing slavery. He was also very much of the mindset that labor is independent of capital. That's actually one of his quotes. And so he believed that people buying other people to then work for them, so the people who already have capital, then using that capital to build more capital for themselves while denying money to the people who labor and create the wealth for the owner, he believed that that was like morally wrong. And I do too. And I think that's a system that we have right now where generally the workers are just creating wealth for the owners, and that's why we see the wealth gap growing in our country. So, and then you look later into the 1900s, where we have a big labor movement that actually helped push FDR to the left. So he established Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, very big social programs that we still see today. More social programs that are very helpful in the U.S. is the USPS, so the United States Postal Service. I think that's a very good program. It is one of the only programs that will cover, or mail services that will cover all of the United States, no matter the cost, because companies that are for profit won't go to an area where they'll lose money. And so the USPS will go wherever they have to, even if they lose money, because it's a service. It's just something that we all, as a collective, give to, and then we all receive the benefits for it. That's also kind of what I want to see with Medicare, or Medicare for all, because you know, we all pitch into this system and we all get treated for it, because no matter how much the government would lose, it makes sense to fund this program.
Yeah, and I think too, a lot of people don't know, Dubuque itself is a union town. You know, the whole town was built on the backs of organized labor, and I think that's a real, you know, that has a lot of potential to be tapped into. You know, a lot of politicians, even Bernie, who we liked a lot, you know, he was pro-union, but that wasn't a focus of his campaign. I think that's something we'll really be able to tap into. So yeah, thanks for launching your campaign here with us, Matt. I'm pumped to get this going, and let's win.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Thank you, Eddie.